Mr. Noazam Abdul Samad, are you ready? Mr. Abdul Samad, Norazam Abdul Samad, or also known as Pa Azam from Mercy Malaysia. So I hope that Pa Azam can share with us some of the research interests and also perhaps some of the strategies to support the process of rebuilding and supporting this Build Back Better as mentioned by Asendai Framework. And without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Noazam Abdul Samad.
Thank you, Dr. Kamarul. Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon, everyone. It's a great honor and pleasure to be with you today in this colloquium. And I shall be presenting a topic on development of resilient resettlement communities to cope with the challenge of post-disaster recovery. Okay, this study investigated the relationship between issues and challenges in shelter after disaster and design consideration of resilient resettlement for the affected community to bounce back faster in building back their lives. Disaster damaged houses and infrastructures, causing economic losses, impacting livelihoods, and cause casualties and injuries. The built environment is something that is very vulnerable, and the impact after disaster are the most visible, and meeting shelter needs post-disaster remains a major challenge for governments and humanitarian agencies, and the most important of all, the affected people. This research observed the development process of Mercy Malaysia as an international NGO working together with local communities, local partners, and local government in building settlements for communities in post-disaster recovery. What is post-disaster recovery? The Institute of Strategic Disaster Risk Reduction defines post-disaster recovery as decisions and action taken after disaster with a view to restoring or improving the pre-disaster living condition of the stricken community while encouraging and facilitating necessary adjustment to reduce disaster risk. Shelter can be divided into 4 categories: emergency shelter, temporary housing, and permanent shelter. However, IFRC in 2013 have added additional categories to this, such as transitional shelter, progressive shelters, and core shelters or one-room shelters. It is important to understand that different types of categories represent different periods of phases. Adequate shelter has significant impact on human survival and community resilience in the post-disaster recovery phases. Shelter requires more than just a roof or a space to be habitable. The design of a shelter should provide a sense of belonging and dignity, and it is a place for them to build back their new lives. The affected people living in a shelter must have access to services such as water, sanitation, and electricity. There are 4 types of methods being used in this study. First is literature review. Historical case studies were reviewed to identify issues and challenges and design consideration for post-disaster recovery projects. The second method, this research uses 3 Mercy Malaysia resettlement projects as case studies. The third method involved 13 expert opinions from different professional backgrounds who had experience in humanitarian works and disaster management. And the final method is by doing the field observation. There are 4 research objectives. The first one is to identify issues and challenges in temporary settlement during post-disaster recovery. Second one is to highlight design consideration of temporary settlement in post-disaster recovery. The third one, to examine issues and challenges and design consideration of 3 case studies in Aceh, Indonesia 2005, Kelantan, Malaysia 2014, and Palu, Indonesia 2019. Last but not least, to validate the relationship between issues and challenges and design consideration of temporary settlement in post-disaster recovery. How does humanitarian agency work in post-disaster recovery? In figure 3, it clearly shows that Mercy Malaysia temporary settlement process flow. that comprise of 8 columns. It can be easily divided into 4 groups of actors, which are the local government, the local partners and landowners, the humanitarian agencies, and also the affected communities. Good collaboration within all partners and to advocate good governance at all levels should be part of the Build Back Better or Bounce Back Faster strategies. Governance is not government. Governance as concept recognizes power exists inside and outside the formal authority and institution of government. Normally, there are 3 main groups: the governments, private sectors, and also civil society. Governance emphasizes process. Decisions are made based on complex relations between many actors with different priorities. These are the 3 case studies area of Mercy Malaysia Temporary Settlement Project in Aceh, in Kelantan, and also in Palu. So in figure 5, we can see the massive destruction up to 2 kilometers from Lok Ngah shoreline. The affected people of Desa Uraya were then relocated to a safer place. And then in figure 6, the houses of Kampung Tualang along the river bank were washed away with an impact like tsunami in Kuala Kerai, Kelantan. And last one is in figure 7, Mercy Malaysia Temporary Settlement Project in Palu City, Central Sulawesi, Indonesia. So we can see from Jalan Cumi-Cumi Lere, they were shifted to a new place near Jalan Diponegoro, Palu. Sphere standards specify a minimum of 3.5 meters squared per person requirement for covered living space, with a minimum of 2 meters floor to ceiling height. Adequate housing is defined as having sufficient covered living space to provide protection from the climate while having fresh air and ensure privacy and safety from structural hazards and disease vectors. The built-up area for temporary shelter in Aceh and Kelantan is 4 meter width by 6 meter length, which equates to 24 meters squared, whereas built-up area for Palu is slightly lesser in length, which is 5.5 meter. Though this floor area equates to 22 meters squared, this still exceeds the minimum standards requirement for Shelter and Settlement Standard 3 Sphere 2020. Mercy takes into consideration the daily life activities of the affected people in determining build-up area, activities such as praying, studying, cooking, dining, and hosting guests at the veranda. Although it is not stated clearly in any guidelines regarding opening and lighting, Mercy Malaysia has allocated 15% of floor area for ventilation and natural lighting. The most prominent element of Mercy Malaysia Temporary Shelter is the veranda to enhance community connectedness in post-disaster recovery period. It is a strategic intervention by Mercy for the community to build back their lives again and to bounce back faster. Based on Settlement Planning Sphere 2020, the aim is to enable safe and secure accommodation and essential services, which includes safe, secure, and equitable access to services like water, sanitation, energy for cooking, communal cooking, heating and lighting, healthcare, solid waste disposal, schools, places of worship, meeting points, recreational areas, including child-friendly spaces, and space for livestock accommodation. And in order for the affected community to bounce back faster in the resettlement area, Mercy Malaysia has provided not only shelter as the covered living space, but also essential services such as toilets, shower, washing area, water, and electricity. Mercy has also included management office and meeting rooms for better coordination among the local government and partners, as well as for better shelter management among the resettlement committee, warehouse or storage area for receiving and distribution of relief goods, women and child-friendly space to accommodate women and child activity while the men can start working and look for jobs in the recovery period. Musola, which is the place of worship with main purpose of the community to perform their prayers, but at the same time can become the meeting and the briefing points. Common TV area and wakaf, which is an informal covered area for community to socialize among themselves and when receiving visitors or close friends. Kindergarten, primary schools were also built in Palu for the children to have continuous education. All of those components were planned and designed carefully for the community to become more resilient and for them to bounce back faster immediately after they move in the resettlement area. From figure 9, it can be summarized that all the three typologies of resettlement area, Mercy Malaysia had centrally positioned the community place such as musala, schools, child-friendly space, TV area, and open space for common distribution area. Another important factor is the main entrance and the main road is set as the grid reference for the overall planning. There are 4 types of internal circulation: the main road, service road, secondary road, and back lane. Only main and service road is accessible for 3-ton lorry and fire truck. As for the management office, it is located at the main entrance of the 3 resettlement area. These are some of the issues and highlighted in the 3 different case studies. Due to the massive scale of disaster, Aceh experienced all of the issues and challenges, which are the land matters, accessibility, personalization, community place, climate variation, funding, employment, livelihood program, SME support, relief aid, density population, religious beliefs, health education, and community preparedness. Among the 3 resettlement projects, it is clearly shows that Palu Resettlement Project had applied all 13 design considerations for the community to bounce back faster, which are simple and cost-effective design, rapid construction techniques, local authority requirements, site evaluation, effective post-project management, material availability, common utilities, cultural and beliefs area, access and circulation, spatial connectedness, safety and security, community facilities, and universal design. This is due to the disaster scale and impact, and because of it is located in an urban area. Palu happens when all stakeholders, including Mercy Malaysia, had vast experience in disaster recovery and familiar with disaster risk reduction. Hence, all components were considered in designing the resettlement projects. The table, there are 195 correlations between issues and challenges and design consideration. Expert opinions indicates 18 correlations, which are commonly agreed, the highest level of agreement on the relationship between issues and challenges and design consideration. Land matters and access escalation, accessibility and access escalation, accessibility and spatial connectedness, community place and common utilities, community place and access circulations, community place and common facilities, funding and simple cost effective design, funding and rapid construction techniques, funding and material availability, density population and spatial connectedness, density population and safety, security, density population and common facilities, religious beliefs and cultural beliefs area, health and common facilities, common preparedness, community preparedness and access circulation, community preparedness and spatial connectedness, community preparedness and safety, security, community preparedness and common facilities. The result shows some of the relationship between issues and challenges and design consideration highlighted by the expert, and the result considered is still at the preliminary stage of my studies. The research is still going on. In conclusion, different type of disaster can cause different type of resettlement strategies. Urban area post-disaster resettlement projects have more capabilities rather than rural area. Scale and magnitude of disaster will lead to fast or slow post-disaster recovery. Experienced local government, humanitarian agencies, and other stakeholders in managing disaster enable to establish a more resilient response and effective implementation of projects. Good governance in project management should be part of post-disaster recovery strategies. Community preparedness in understanding risk and impact will enable community to own houses or building with some disaster risk reduction measures. And last but not least, building community resilience. Post-disaster recovery should start with good design consideration of a resettlement project. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Pak Azam, for sharing very exciting to see three different projects come together, and indeed it's a remarkable achievements. In fact, in the first year of your study, Pak Azam, how actually you bring your experience into this so-called dedicated research, and I appreciate some of the sharing that you did.